And we will have our peer advisors, Ariana or Grecia, will answer it for you, or we will have time at the end to address any questions that you have. And yeah, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Ta-da. There we go. I forgot to mention, my name is Erin. I'm an academic advisor for the Psychology Advising Center. I've been working in the Advising Center for about 10 years, so I know quite a bit about psychology stuff. If you have any specific questions, please just email psychadvising@ucf.edu and we'll address them. But if you have any questions relevant to the topic today, again, go ahead and ask them in the chat and we'll address them today. So I have quite a few students get hung up on the word internship. They're always looking for an internship, but that's not necessarily what the experience is that you need. You need relevant experience, and relevant experience could be called an internship, or it could just be a volunteer position or a service learning position. We have relevant experiences could be a teaching assistant or research assistant position. We have peer advising positions, and all across campus there's tutoring and mentoring positions. I actually should even add a bubble for a leadership position. So if you're a leader of a student club, that's amazing experience. But definitely your work, part-time or full-time work that you're doing could be relevant. And if you feel like it's not relevant, well, maybe see if you can find something that's relevant. Unfortunately, a lot of times with our undergrad students, they really want experience with the mental health field, and that's not always attainable without being a grad student. So don't really get hung up on if it's mental health related as much as is it related to helping others, and especially helping others in the age range or clientele that you want to work with in the future. So that's always very meaningful. I always talk about my part-time job working at the movie theater. Yeah, I was mainly scooping popcorn for customers, but I did get promoted to supervisor, not like a manager or anything, which is kind of like the very next level. I got 25 cents more an hour than my staff did. I did a lot of training. Obviously I supervised a whole team of essentially usually high school age students. But I would definitely say it was definitely relevant because it was leadership, especially if I was interested in going into like a industrial organizational psych kind of field. That's perfectly relevant, is being able to handle teamwork, or even counseling, being able to handle the irate customers that I always had. So definitely your experience can be relevant. So try not to get hung up on what is it called? Is it called an internship? Especially because if you look for like a mental health internship, that's actually usually a grad student thing. Grad students have to have so many internship hours to get licensed, at their end. So don't really look at the mental health internship so much, because that's usually a grad student one. So obviously relevant experience gives you the skills for your resume. Hopefully you'll be getting letters of recommendation and references from it. But it's really for you to figure out, is this the field that you want to go into? And so getting that experience is going to really help you see that. Now, sometimes you might work in an internship or volunteer or job and you're like, okay, I don't want to go into this field at all. But it could be possible that it was just that company or just that area of that job. So for example, maybe you were doing something within an HR internship, a human resources internship that you didn't really care about. Well, in HR, there's so many different areas that maybe that area just wasn't right for you, or maybe that company wasn't right for you. So keep exploring, even if you're like, okay, I don't think I like that. Well, still look into it, look into other aspects of it, talk to professionals that are in the field, and hopefully that'll still help you see if you like it or not. And if you find out you don't like it, okay, great, you didn't like it, go on to the next thing. And that position that you had before is always going to open a door to another position that hopefully you will like this time. And that's okay, because you're just discovering what works for you. And when you gain this relevant experience, this helps you build your story for your personal statement when you're applying to graduate school, of what worked well for you that told you that this is for sure the career you want to go into, and why you're willing to pursue graduate level work for it. So the big question I always get is where can I find these positions? And a lot of students always ask me, like, do you know of any? And I'm like, I know of tons. I don't know if they're hiring like right this second, but I know that there's tons of organizations in the area near you, near UCF, wherever you're at, that are looking for assistance. There is an issue, of course, with the coronavirus. Is there going to be a virtual position for you, or are you going to have to risk your safety by going physically somewhere? Is that place having social distancing? That's definitely a concern to look into. That's going to be an added challenge for the time. But, you know, of course, fingers crossed that we get to go back to normal as soon as possible. But it doesn't hurt to ask around, find out what positions are available. I know that there are still virtual positions out there if you are worried about physically being somewhere. And that if you do have to physically be somewhere, again, just double check that they're being safe. So where can you find relevant experience? The number one place that people get their jobs at, or internships or relevant experience, is who they know. It's your network, and you probably have a pretty big network. You have your family, your friends, your coworkers. You have their friends, their coworkers, their family. So there's lots of people that you can just ask, like, hey, I'm interested in this field. Do you know of anyone looking for an intern? Typically, yes, it is going to probably be an unpaid position, but that's just where you're going to start off as a student, and hopefully work up to a paid position, or work into getting to that grad program to help you get even farther. But just ask, you know, at the very least, can I get some experience? Do you know of anyone that is in this field that I'm interested in that you could connect me to? You could do a Google search, just see who the professionals nearby. Especially in the Orlando area, professionals here understand that UCF we're a large school, we're everywhere. We have students that are looking for experience or looking to have questions answered that they may be willing to answer for you, or help you with. At the very least, if you can find someone that can answer some questions about where you can find relevant experience, that's really great if they're able to answer those questions for you. Even if they don't necessarily have a position for you, they might be able to share one that they know of, or a colleague that is in need of assistance. If you're not already on LinkedIn, definitely make your LinkedIn account so that you can connect with all kinds of professionals, especially UCF alumni. On LinkedIn, you can search University of Central Florida and click on alumni and research alumni and what kind of jobs that they're doing, especially like specifically psychology is a code word you could put in. So LinkedIn is definitely a really good tool as well for setting up connections and finding out who's in your network. I kind of already touched on this. When you do find a professional that's willing to connect with you, set up what's called an informational interview, and you can ask them questions about their career, ask them what you should be doing to go towards that career, such as, do you know of any relevant experiences, or do you have a position available in your office or where you're at? I used to say try and do it face-to-face as much as possible. Of course, that's not going to work anymore. At the very least, maybe you can set up a Zoom session, or just email can work as well. Our office, we can help you learn more about research and teaching assistant positions, and of course the peer advising position. We are virtual right now too, so just email psychadvising@ucf.edu and we can share more about that. Of course, I'm doing another one of these webinars on research tomorrow, but I'll touch on it again today too. And I'll touch more about teaching assistant positions as well. And then a big thing is to use experiential learning. They have a program called Handshake, and they have companies from all over that tell UCF, hey, we have internships available. And they post it on Handshake. They post jobs and internships on Handshake. So definitely make sure you have a Handshake account and review that as well. Now, if you find your own internship, you can also get that posted on Handshake. And I think I'm going to talk about that in another slide. Go. There we go. Oh, even more ideas of professionals. So you can definitely reach out to professors, whether you've had a class with them or not, and ask them questions about career, especially if you want to be a professor yourself, or you want to be a researcher like they are. Most of our professors are researchers first. You can get involved on campus. I had already kind of mentioned there's tutoring positions with Student Academic Resource Center, or even with the athletes advising. They have tutoring positions. I'm sure they're doing it more virtual right now, but that doesn't mean you can't reach out to them and see about positions with them. I mentioned we have the peer advising position in our office, and there's other offices on campus like transfer and transition services and career services that has peer advising positions. The counseling and psychological services office, they have a mentor position to help share about CAPS in the counseling center and the importance of going to see a counselor. And there's tons of jobs on campus. Of course, it's going to be a little bit more limited now with the virus and campus being a little bit more empty. But some of these positions have now more moved virtual, so they do still exist. So check out positions with the Rec and Wellness Center, with housing, with orientation and first year experience, like with SLS. Other opportunities on campus, I've seen students working at the Student Union, the Office of Student Involvement. There's positions everywhere. And especially those campus positions are really great to have because they're all about helping others, especially helping more of the adolescent to adult age range. And it helps with landing a grad assistant position for grad school. A lot of graduate programs may have some grad assistant positions or jobs on campus that may pay your tuition. So jobs on campus or with the campus, being a student leader in some way is really cool to help land hopefully a grad assistantship. So definitely something to look into. You can reach out to all kinds of counselors. Counselors are great people. They love to help. So they love to help students that want to be counselors too. So definitely reach out to counselors and see if they can help direct you towards relevant experiences. I've met with students that work at like suicide hotlines or other hotlines, victim advocacy agencies, HR recruiters. So say you're interested in working in HR, there's recruiters that connect with UCF to recruit students for their jobs, but they're in the field too. They're recruiters. They are in HR. So if you're interested in that, definitely connect with those recruiters that are connecting with Career Services. Career Services hosts a lot of webinars these days on career readiness, and they typically can have professionals, HR professionals, trying to share about resume writing. But maybe you want to, bump elbows with those professionals. I think that's a great way to start a connection. You can get involved in schools. I know right now a lot of schools are not allowing any volunteers on their campus, but hopefully that ends soon. So it's something to look into, is if you're allowed to work in the school or if there's anything you can do from home that can assist the school. I already mentioned talking to our professors, but there's other psychologists in the area you can reach out to if you're interested in any of those psychology fields and doing more hands-on and not so much the research professor side. You definitely reach out to health organizations. Typically, if you're going into a pre-health field, you need so many observation hours, so definitely reach out to that. If you are interested in pre-health, make sure you do connect with pre-health, pre-law advising, because they'll probably get you set up with how to get started with observation hours. You can talk to supervisors and managers and nonprofits and other organizations. We've got our theme parks here in Central Florida. Those are great places to look for internships. Honestly, you can even just go to a company's website like SeaWorld and look for positions for college students, and they'll probably have stuff listed as interns. Not just SeaWorld, but any company, Target. Think of a company that you might be interested in working for, and you can see if they have like a college student position that's more of an internship to help guide you into that career. So there's definitely positions everywhere. I don't know how they're going to look right now with being more virtual and socially distant, but it doesn't hurt to look and ask, and hopefully once these places do open up again that they'll have a position available. I'm trying to think. Oh, I have a friend that works at Verizon, and she said they did a virtual internship for HR at Verizon. So I definitely know that there are companies that are working into being accommodating, because they need the helpers too. You guys are providing free or cheap help for them, but it's giving you great experience too. So definitely ask around, look around, depending on the field it is that you think you want to go into or what you want to start with. I mentioned Handshake. It's pretty much just this job posting program, but Career Services will also share like when their events are going to be. So like when their virtual webinar events and stuff is all through Handshake. You kind of register through that. So make sure you have a Handshake account so that you can utilize Career Services and search. Oops, forgot to shut my timer off. And like I said, there's jobs posted on Handshake, internships posted on Handshake. Again, not all of them are going to be paid. It's not very likely these days to find a paid position, unfortunately. But there's some really great internships on there that might open doors to potential paid positions in the future. And then, like I said, if you do find your own internship, say you get connected through a family friend that they're going to supervise you in some internship work, you can get credit. So if you need credits to help you reach the 120 hours or the 48 upper level hours, you can get it set up on Handshake to get credit for that position. So some of my students look into that because maybe they don't have whole credits to get to a minor or certificate, but they just want to do internship for credit, and you can do that. Now it won't go. Go. There we go. So I mentioned teaching assistant. Our professors these days definitely need teaching assistants. I'm not sure what it looks like in other departments for teaching assistants. They have sometimes different requirements. Psychology is one of the, obviously we're the biggest department, so we have a lot of TA positions, especially now with being virtual. Our professors need a little bit more assistance than they did before. And so this is definitely a position you can look into doing. When you're a teaching assistant, it's different depending on the professor you're working for. They have different needs, sometimes just depending on the class. It could be, well, back when we were doing face-to-face courses, seems like forever ago, could be proctoring exams, just kind of making sure no one's cheating, using the Scantron machine to grade tests. Of course, now we're not really doing that so much anymore. It's definitely more virtual, of just being able to answer questions. But there are TAs that are moderating discussions and holding review sessions, even virtually with Zoom. So it's definitely a great way to connect with students and help students with classes that you did well in yourself. So you do have to have an A in that class to be able to TA for it. You do need at least a 3.0 UCF GPA. So if it's your first semester, you don't have a UCF GPA yet, you need to, of course, wait until your next semester. And just ask that professor if they need a TA. Even if their answer is no, because they already have their TAs, maybe they'll think of you for the next semester. So it doesn't hurt to ask. It helps if you've had that professor. So if that's the class you earned the A in with that exact professor, ask them, but you can ask the other professors that are teaching that class as well. We usually have a few professors, 1 or 2 or 3 professors teaching that class in each semester. So you can ask the other professors too. It doesn't even have to be a class that you took at UCF. So say you took general psych at Valencia or Seminole State or somewhere else, you can still ask our general psych professors if they need a teaching assistant. For the teaching assistant internship, you do need to sign up for the TA class. Our office will get you signed up for that. So just email psychadvising@ucf.edu once you have a professor that says, yeah, you can TA for my such and such class next spring. We'll sign you up for the class. It's just a 1-credit class. It's really just to help hold students accountable to make sure they're going to finish the internship. They get graded S or U, satisfactory or unsatisfactory. There's homework in the class, but nothing that's too strenuous. It's just meant to be a resource on how to help professors. It's really not meant to be challenging. And that 1-credit class you can take up to 3 times. So say you just need 3 credits and you've got 3 more semesters, you can take the class 3 times and TA for a professor 3 times. You can TA for multiple professors. You can TA for multiple professors in 1 semester. That's up to you how much you can handle and juggle. So just be wary of that, because we want to still be successful in your academic classes as well as helping the professors. But definitely TAing is a great way to get a better relationship with our professors. I know our class sizes can be very large, and so it's hard to build that one-on-one to hopefully get a letter of recommendation. But being a teaching assistant with a professor is a great way to assist them, have them get to know you, and that way they can hopefully vouch for your ability to succeed in grad school or whatever's next. So TAing is an awesome opportunity to build those relationships with our psych professors. Again, it helps if you've had that professor. It helps if while you're taking that class and earning that A, that you are building that relationship with them, you're asking questions, you've got good discussions, and they just see that you are serious about that subject, so that you could definitely help your peers in that subject. I mentioned the peer advising internship. It's a weird internship right now because we're virtual. Our peer advisors don't have access to degree audits, so there's not too much that they can do, unfortunately, for the time being until we get to come back face to face. But back when we were face to face, the peer advisors helped students understand the degree audit and come up with a plan for classes for the next semester. And so we do have our peer advisors work for us pretty much for our whole academic year from fall until the next summer. So we're not hiring peer advisors right now again until next fall. But if you're not graduating anytime soon, definitely keep your eyes out for the peer advising application to look into doing that. Fingers crossed we get to go back to face-to-face advising soon, and that I know we won't be able to do walk-in hours for a while. It'll probably be appointment-based, but we'll see. We'll see how that looks in the future. But just another opportunity, of course, that I know about because I'm the supervisor for the peer advisors. But there's other opportunities like peer advising that's on campus that is doing virtual stuff right now. I know like CAPS has their mentors, Career Services has peer advisors, and SARC has tutoring, and ASSA has tutoring and advising as well. So be on the lookout for other opportunities all over campus. I follow a bunch of offices on social media that helps me find positions like that. But ask around, ask those offices, hey, do you have any internship positions? Look at their website because it's probably posted there. Do a little bit of searching, especially if you want to get involved on campus. Now, the number one internship for those of you that are interested in your doctorate or even the IO Psychology Masters, the Industrial Organizational Psychology Masters, is being a research assistant. You need at least 1 year of research assistant, if not more, if you want to apply for a doctoral program. And so I highly recommend that this is the internship you focus on. Put all your eggs into this basket as much as possible if that's your goal, is to go into your doctorate or be a professor, because that's the main thing that professors do. And I have my webinar tomorrow on research assistant. And again, if you're not able to attend the one that I'm doing tomorrow, I'll post it on social media, so it's okay. You won't miss it. But to be a research assistant, you are helping that professor or grad student run their study or work with participants. I know that's a little weird right now because of the virus, that they're kind of doing it more digital. You're collecting data. You're going to use SPSS outside of taking stats and psych and research methods in psych, so that's important. One task a lot of my students do is they summarize scholarly articles for the grad students and the professors. Those are the main tasks you're looking for. So sometimes you can gain those research tasks outside of psychology. You might be able to gain research experience with a lab in sociology or criminal justice or the education department. We are a research school, so there's lots of research positions. Some have to stop for the time being because they were more face-to-face, especially working with people. But others have been able to do new research because of the coronavirus, or are just doing research more virtually, like I said, with everything else. So I definitely recommend looking into getting involved in research to gain those skills. To get involved with research, our website has the research labs, and I recommend that you review this. I wonder if it'll pop up. There it goes. Here's our website eventually. I recommend you review our research labs that we have. Just click on research. Here's our labs. Professors aren't the greatest at updating their website, so definitely reach out to them. I would say, click on the research lab that you're really interested in learning more about, review it, read it, look at some of the articles that they've published, and then look into talking with that professor. See if you can reach out to them to set up a Zoom session to talk about the research that you're doing, because you're really interested in how you can grow into it. And by the way, do you have a position available? And hopefully they do. And if not, hopefully you made a good impression that the next time there is a position available that they'll think of you. So I definitely recommend interacting with the professor is a great way to apply to get into the lab. Some labs have applications, so you can look at their website, see if they have an application to apply that way, but I would say do that and connect with them. And then if we go back to my presentation, besides the psych department website that shows those research labs, you can apply on this program called RA Match. It's basically like a survey that you fill out to say, these are the labs I'm interested in applying to. Sometimes students get positions that way, not all the times though. It just depends on the professor. If they look at it right away, because they're going to only really look at it when they need somebody. Speaking of which, professors are going to need assistance randomly. It doesn't really always go by the academic year or academic calendar. So just apply anyways, reach out to them, see if they have positions available, keep reaching out to them. Most labs do want you there for about 10 hours a week. Obviously now probably more virtually, of course. I don't think anyone's on campus for psych right now. And they usually want you working for them for at least 2 semesters. So definitely plan accordingly to try and get into a lab as soon as possible. The more research you do, the better. If you don't have much time because you're about to graduate, the more labs, the better. Of course, be careful because then you're juggling now 20 hours a week in 2 different labs. So make sure your grades aren't going to suffer that way too. If you are about to graduate, you can get involved in a research lab. Just let them know that you're graduating soon, but that you're not going anywhere. You still plan on working for them until you're able to get into grad school. That'll help them want to hire you, knowing that you're not planning on leaving after you graduate. Because that's their worry, is that, oh, if you're graduating this fall, they don't really want to hire you this fall because they want someone that's going to be with them for at least 2 semesters. And you're like, oh yeah, I'm graduating this fall, but I totally plan to continue working with you if I'm selected. So just let them know that. So it's not the end of the world. It is really hard to get into a research lab after you've graduated. So definitely make that a priority while you're still a student to get involved in a lab as much as possible. And we'll talk more about research tomorrow. So hopefully you guys can go to my video tomorrow too. So when you are signing up for credit, whether it's to be a research assistant or a teaching assistant, or you're going to get credit for an internship that you're doing, remember that that does cost money. It costs the normal tuition price, whatever you pay for tuition and fees. So if you don't need credit, then try not to do the internship for credit. Of course, the peer advising is a 3 credit class, and then the teaching assistant is a 1 credit class. You have to sign up for those when you're doing those internships. That's just part of the requirement of keeping our students accountable. But for the other internships, you don't have to necessarily sign up for credit. Some organizations do want you to have it affiliated with UCF, so you might need to sign up on Handshake for it, but you can do it for 0 credits. And that doesn't cost you anything as long as you're enrolled in something else. So that's something I always want to just make you aware of. My website here has even more information on, let's see if it works. Okay, it broke. But, oh no, there it goes. So I have even more information on gaining relevant experience. You can listen to me talk some more if you forget anything I just shared. I even listed some places. I just honestly did a Google search of places in this Orlando UCF area that have a volunteer page. So these websites here, you can click on them and there's usually a link to apply for volunteer positions. Again, I'm not sure how that looks like now with the virus, but it doesn't hurt to try and find out and look them up. So here's some ideas of organizations that I just happened to do a Google search on. I literally just Googled the zip code and volunteer, and these are some organizations I found. These are some organizations also that I've met other students that are working at these positions. So that's why I also listed those too. So hopefully you'll look into those for your positions too. I think that's the main thing I wanted to do for my presentation. So now I'm going to look at our questions to see if we have any. I don't know how though. Okay. I guess I have to stop sharing. Okay, so I'm going to try and look at our chat and see if there's any questions in there that I can assist with, or if there's like some big questions that we can cover. So feel free to add anything in there if you have any questions. Let's see. Kelly, I hope we answered your question about how to find opportunities. Honestly, ask around, Google search, connect on LinkedIn. You're really going to have to probably do a little bit of work to find them, but they are definitely available. And again, try not to think of it being called an internship. And then research experience, Like I said, besides the psych department, you can look in research in a bunch of departments all over campus, and not always at UCF. Maybe there's research positions with a company or organization or with another university. Especially nowadays, like a lot of us are scattered all throughout Florida. If you're closer to another university, see if they'll let you get involved with research with them. Yeah, I can't help with the handshake navigating, but there is, I know a grad student that works with the handshake program, and she could probably help you. So I would just reach out to like the handshake email and they could assist you. Oh, good. Ariana posted the link for the RA match. Thank you, Ariana. I would say apply anyways, even if you don't have a UCF GPA, but if you don't get it, that might be why you don't get the position. So apply anyways. I always say apply anyways, and just see where that gets you. So Julia asked about experimental psychology. Experimental psychology means doing research on human behavior. So being a research assistant is the #1 internship for that. Psychology Career Services Department doesn't exist. No, the Advising Center is not available, and neither is Career Services. They are doing everything virtually, but email us and we will assist you, and we can set up one-on-one Zoom sessions if we need to. So we're psych advising at ucf.edu, and then Career Services is just career services at ucf.edu. Vera Rudinger, you're interested in criminal justice psychology, also probably called forensic psychology. If it's the word psychology in it, you're interested in research. So get involved in research. #1 internship if it's got the word psych. Yes, Grecia shared faculty information too, and you can get connected with our professors that are doing research. Yeah, anything after undergrad is grad school. So if you want to get your master's, your PsyD, your PhD, your EDD, that's all called grad school. Kara, I post the recordings for these videos on social media, and I will eventually add them to our website, which they're probably already there anyways. Our information is. The PsyD is not shorter than a PhD. Got a whole PhD video on the 5th, October 5th. Let's see. Lots of experience. So those that are interested in counseling, I know counseling is a very popular career field for our psych students. If you want your doctorate to go be a psychologist, you need research experience. You should also get some experience helping others, whether that's in a mental health related internship or just any position helping others. If you want to be a therapist, do your master's degree, you just need the experience helping others. You really don't need to do the research experience. So you don't need to focus on that. If you're looking into your PsyD, yes, I still recommend research experience all the way, because you're going to work on your doctorate, your dissertation. You need to know how to do research. So research is definitely going to be helpful. Shaylin is interested in going into a medical doctor field. That's pre-health advising is going to help you. Google pre-health, pre-law advising, because you need to do science classes, you need research experience, you need experience in the health setting. So you're definitely going to be very busy, even busier than I think like our regular psych majors. Tiffany asks about child psychology. It's got the word psychology in it, so get research experience, but also children. So any experience with children is great. Ideally, a research lab with children would be amazing, but that doesn't have to be that way. Or if you want to be a therapist with children, you just need the experience with children. You don't need the psychology, the research part. So if you want your doctorate, your PsyD or PhD to be called a psychologist, you definitely need research experience. But if you're more interested in being a counselor, clinical social worker with children, just the master side, you just need the helping experience. Kedera asks about website for showing what professors are currently researching on. Our psych department website lists the labs that we have. Some labs are halted research because of the virus. Some are doing new research because of the virus. So you'll just have to look into them to see and really just ask them, are you hiring right now? Are you looking for a research assistant? The difference between a PsyD and PhD, one's more expensive. The PsyD is usually only offered at private schools. They're less competitive, I feel like, because of that. And they're going to be more of a applied work. So it is less research focused, though I still recommend that you gain research experience. Whereas the PhD, especially at public schools like UCF, are typically fully funded. They pay you to be a student in the program, makes them ridiculously competitive. And they're all research. That's literally all you do is basically research. Definitely look into our PhD chat that we're going to do on the 5th, counselor chat on the 5th. I think that addressed everybody's question. If you have any other questions, please feel free to add them in the chat, or if you're comfortable, you can unmute yourself and ask away. Natalie asked, is it possible to become a psychologist and a psychiatrist? A psychiatrist is a medical doctor, so you need to go to med school for that. I don't know if you're going to want to do your so many years of med school and then do another psychologist doctorate on top of that. That's a lot, but it's not impossible. I mean, there's always like MD JDs, right? So go get your MD PhD. Ivana asks if you do need to have a UCF GPA to apply to internships. Sometimes you do. It just depends on the organization. I feel like a lot of UCF ones want you to, just that way you're familiar with UCF because you've been here for a semester and you have that UCF GPA. If this is your first semester this fall, you're gonna have a UCF GPA once your grades are released in December. So like December, I don't know, 12th. I had to look at the calendar. How expensive is the PsyD? Private schools are often 40 grand a year just for undergrad, and it's a 5 to 7 year program. So a lot, in my opinion. But that's what my students do if that's what they want to be. If they want to be a psychologist, they're gonna pay the money to do it. Lots of student loans. Any other questions? Hopefully I addressed everybody. I think I got through them all. There was quite a bit. Great questions. Any other questions on internships? Again,
what would you recommend if you were thinking of going into ABA?
ABA therapy is also applied behavioral analysis. Typically, ABA therapists work with usually children, sometimes older, and it's typically working with autism or similar disorders. So really anything with children. We have a lot of our psych majors that are registered behavior technicians. That's actually a decent paying job, sometimes part-time, sometimes full-time. So I have sometimes my students are full-time RBTs and they're just doing their psych degree part-time, or vice versa. Maybe they're able to get a part-time job. So I would say look for a registered behavior technician position. Hopefully the position that you find will pay for you to get certified. If not, you can pay to get certified. UCF has like a $600 class. There might be more than that. It's a lot of money, in my opinion, when a lot of positions will pay for you to get certified. So look for a registered behavior technician position, or at the very least, look for any position helping kids or autism or both, or anything related to that. Of course, you can email psychadvising@ucf.edu and myself or Morgan will assist you. Kelly asks, is it possible to get a master's in counseling before going to get your doctorate, or PsyD specifically? I don't recommend it. Your doctorate, you're going to get your master's along the way anyways. So why get a master's first? I'd only recommend your master's first if you're going towards the PhD. But the PsyD, especially since it's so expensive, I would just go straight for the PsyD as much as you can. You could apply for master's programs in counseling and PsyD programs at different schools and see what you get into, I guess, if that's what you're interested in. But especially because like masters in counseling aren't really psych, they're mental health counseling. So you might want to look for a master's in psych and then a PsyD. Not that the classes will often double dip. So it's definitely something I always just say, don't worry about the master's then and just go straight for that doctorate, if that's what you can do. For the PsyD anyways. PhD is another story. Yes, it's longer to get your PhD and a master's first as well, but since PhDs are so ridiculously competitive, I always say, if your grades are missing, your research is missing, definitely apply for master's programs to help you with getting into such a competitive program. And we can talk more about that in the counseling video that we're going to do on the 5th. Lots of great questions, lots of stuff to navigate. Again, if you have any other questions, reach out to us at Psych Advising and we'll assist you the best we can. But sometimes your question is probably going to be better answered by a professional, someone in the field. So reach out to your professors, reach out to therapists and counselors and psychologists that have the titles that you're interested in getting for yourself, and see if they can help guide you and help be a mentor for you. You've got professionals in the area, you've got UCF alumni on LinkedIn. There's lots of people that are willing to talk about themselves that can share their stories with you to help guide you towards yours. All right, well, thank you guys so much for attending. This was our largest group yet. I really appreciate you guys being here. I hope for those that are interested in research that you'll be able to attend the one I'm doing tomorrow as well. And if not, just email Psych Advising and we'll assist you, okay? Have a good one, guys. Take care.